You're on.
Okay, we're getting there, slowly. I'm about halfway through my slides. Okay, so this last one's a little bit longer than the others, but we should be good. So standard 6.3 is conducting and monitoring public health enforcement activities and coordinating notification of violations among appropriate agencies. I think something that I probably should have said earlier, my viewpoint is environmental. So when I read some of these things, like that's where my mind goes right away. So it would be good for you all because you're not coming from that perspective. So if there are other documents that you think of that I don't know about, share with the group, please. But yeah, I'm coming from it strictly from environmental. So, as with the other ones, the health department may not be responsible for enforcing all of those laws, but they should know about violations that are occurring in their jurisdiction and ensure that those laws are being enforced by whoever is responsible for enforcing them. So, measure 6.3.1, they're assessing us for standard and consistent enforcement actions. Is that right? 2 required documents, 2 examples for each. So required document 1 is the authority to conduct enforcement activities. They just want 2 examples, no date restriction. I have pulled up 2 state codes that one's for septics and one's for foods because environmental. But I imagine, and those are the specific sections that reference the authority that we have. If we want to use those, we can call this one good to go. But I say it's still a good idea that everyone kind of goes through their county ordinances or just so they have backups.
Yes.
But I mean, it's always good to be like, hey, we can just use these and call it a day. Yeah, the first one is the Septic Enforcement Authority, and the second one is food. So yay for that. One less document, 2 less documents to worry about. Required document 2, procedures and protocols for achieving compliance with laws or enforcement actions. We love our procedures and protocols, don't we? We get more here, or we may already have them, which would be great. So, 2 examples. One needs to address infectious disease, and they have to be within 2 years. So some potential documents that I was thinking of were like our environmental complaints, the enforcement for those. We have a food establishment enforcement policy in Wells County that if they have so many, repeat violations, certain things happen. I don't know if everyone has something like that, but we do in Wells County. And then like quarantine procedures, I thought that could maybe address infectious disease, the quarantine parts of the code. Yeah. That's all for that measure. Measure 6.3.2, they're trying to assess our conformity to scheduling guidelines in laws, codes, ordinances, whatever, when we're performing our enforcement activities. So there are 2 required documents, and they have to be from 2 different programs.
So could that just be the ordinance for the county that says every food establishment must be inspected twice a year?
Yeah, that would be the first required document is a protocol or algorithm for scheduling of your inspections. So they can be mandated schedules or they can be protocol. So like, yeah, with our ordinance it says once every 6 months, which I imagine most people's ordinances do say. So yeah, the frequency could be ordinance or code specific, or you might have a policy for like return inspections. Like if you have this, then you need to go back after this amount of time has passed. just show that you have some sort of protocol for this is when people get inspected. Yeah.
The tattoo ordinance would be our tattoo ordinance.
Says that they have to be inspected 4 times a year, at least 4 times a year. I don't know, does everyone have tattoo ordinances? Yeah. So those would be good examples, I think. The second required document, you have to show that the inspections meet those schedules that you provided for the first required document. So whatever schedules you provide for document 1, you're gonna have to prove that you're actually following those schedules in document 2. It could be like a log of your inspections or some sort of database, if you keep your inspections in a database. Like our environmental complaint inspections, we have a database that we log all of everything we do. Every letter we send out, the time frame, every time we visit this site, there's a little narrative. It's a really nice program. I don't know if other people have something similar. Do you keep like folders of your complaints? I would call that a. Do you save them like in the computer at all?
Win Records has, our complaint program.
It's
is
Win
through
Records.
Records, so it's something that's already developed that, you know, you could contact him, because I know you have received, yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
It'd be another module for you to put, but that's where our complaint.
I didn't know everybody else had Win Records.
Receipts, ours is, we've got the septic and the food and.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is for receipts, that's
Yeah.
something we use it for.
Mhm.
I have a complete database.
Is that something that everybody uses, like
No.
across the state? Or no?
No, there's probably about,
Other entrance.
I would guess probably 20-25 counties that has the receipt program, and the complaints is a part of the other program, the accounting program that I use. And there's, I don't know, there's quite a few people that has that too, the claims.
Okay, we'll move on then. 6.3.3 is assessing our implementation of procedures for routine and emergency enforcement activities and follow-up of complaints. So there's 2 required documents. The first required document, we have to document actions taken as a result of investigations or the follow-up of complaints, as well as analysis of the situation and the standards for follow-up. So if your standards aren't part of like your policy or procedure, you have to submit those in addition to this documentation, like your logs. So I would say if we've got all of that in policy, like this is when I follow up with this, this is how much time goes by between inspections or whatever process you're going through, that can take care of that part of it. So yeah, like if you would have a log of your complaint process, a log of your complaints, and then the policy that you're following, I would say that could work for one example. But we need to. The second required document are communications with regulated entities regarding complaints or compliance plans. They need 2 examples for this one, and we have a 5-year time frame, so that's good. But I was thinking, we discussed some of our bigger complaints at board meetings to kind of, or try to set up compliance plans at some of our board meetings. I don't know if everyone does that, or where you discuss your, your enforcement activities, if it's with your board or if you just come up with it on your own. So I was thinking we could, if we discussed a particular complaint or enforcement plan, especially with food stuff, we bring that to our board. We're like, at what point do we suspend their permit? Because we don't necessarily
You
have
just tell them
that.
not to eat there anymore, that's what you're saying.
Like, if you don't fix these violations by this time, we're going to suspend your permit, not take it away, but suspend it. Just to make sure you have that official, if they've gotten to the point where they have to come to the board meeting, it's pretty bad, because we have like phone calls with our health officer and meetings with the health officer before we get to. And that's all in our enforcement policy. So I was thinking just sort of take one example of that and go through that. So like all of the letters that got sent to them, all of the meetings, just the communications that we've had with them to show that this is your compliance plan, this is how we're going to fix the problems. That's purely from an environmental standpoint. Like I said, I don't really know what sort of enforcement like nursing would do, or
If you had an active TB case, you could enforce logs of patients' compliance with their medication.
and that's mandated by state code. Oh. Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of those.
Of course, we haven't had any active TB cases at least.
Within the
And
last
you know
5
what,
years.
I would rather not use that for an example than have an active TB case. So I'm
It seems like so.
good. I'm good.
We're the
I don't
closest
need
to Conneaut
documentation
County.
that badly.
We're the closest to Conneaut County, that's really helpful.
You have them every year.
We have one every year, it seems like.
Quite a few.
Okay, 6.3.4 is how we analyze patterns and trends from our enforcement activities and complaint investigations. 2 required documents. Pretty short time frame for the first required document. So because of that, they want annual reports that summarize complaints, enforcement activities, or compliance, and the report needs to address trends and patterns. We kind of do that already. We kind of compare to previous years, but I wouldn't say that I like analyze the trends or anything like that. I kind of just say this is where it was at last year, this is where it's at now. So,
Probably add a statement that says
yeah.
no trends were identified.
As long as, but the thing is like, the 14 months is the time frame, so we would have to use the annual reports from this year, if we're still shooting for December 2016 to apply. But I don't know how that would be, especially with the year that we have to upload everything, if it would have to be 2016 annual reports to like be safe, unless that's one that like you can submit and then update. I can't remember which, there were a couple that.
You did that day of the next.
Let's have it ready. I know the budget is one that you can submit and update. This is something where, you know, if we apply, we still have 12 months to upload. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
say, even if we submit the application,
As long as it was, the date meets when we start submitting, or does it have to be when we end?
when you submit everything.
Okay. So I guess if we
That is
have,
a good question.
if we-
December 31st would be
hang
the
on.
day.
if we have all of our documents, it shouldn't take us a year to upload everything.
Well, that's right, exactly. Even within.
But I don't know, like, if they won't even do your site evaluation until that year has gone by, I don't know. If it's like, once you submit, you're good. You don't have to wait a whole year.
Sorry, I was writing notes. What was that?
No, nothing.
Oh.
I just didn't quite understand,
I got lots of information.
like, if you submit everything before that year, will they like bump you up?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they just give you that 12-month window to submit everything. If you get it done in the first week,
Then
more power to you.
You don't have
They
to
will get you
wait.
the next
Okay.
round
You
of,
don't have to wait till that year has
Right.
passed before, okay.
right.
That was my
You
question.
got a jacket behind you.
That's how I understand the process to be.
Okay.
Short sleeve,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Summertime,
Your
here.
guy,
That's what I was hoping.
Up like-
Hoping everyone
Yes, no, you don't have to wait till December 17.
to like
Yes.
get everything.
Please
okay.
don't.
No.
I mean, I don't know if like even if you submitted it, they wait until after that year to. Okay. So for this, I mean, I would imagine you would submit just your one big annual report, but then kind of highlight certain divisions within it. So like for us, our environmental division always has complaints and enforcement, so that would be a good one for us to use. And then like this year, we've had quite a few septic complaints, so we've had to do a lot with the septic stuff. So those were what I was thinking of using. I feel like it would be hard to pull, especially when you don't have those TB cases or you don't, to pull an annual report for something that didn't happen. If your report just doesn't have that in it. I just think environmental is easiest when it comes to enforcement stuff. Yeah. Required document 2 is documenting methods to evaluate processes and procedures regarding enforcement. So they want 2 examples within 5 years. I was thinking we could use some of these meetings to discuss our individual processes, and then maybe get input from each other on improvements that can be made. Like in our quality improvement training that we went to, we like picked out septic permitting for one county, and then we all looked at it and were like, well, that's not how we do things. You could eliminate this step. It was very informative for me because I kind of just assume that everyone does things relatively similarly, and that's not the case at all. Even with like permitting, it's not anything close. So I figured, why not use this group that we already have together from other entities and kind of have like an official meeting where this is what we're going to discuss at this meeting. Try to get those specific positions at the meeting. So like an environmental group of the environmentalists from all 5 counties coming together and having a meeting to discuss a particular process. Otherwise, I was thinking like our IEHA chapter meetings, when you have all those people that are all environmentalists together in the same room, it's good to, if we could set aside a time for that. I know we always have speakers. And I don't know if it's something that, I don't know other divisions, agencies or organizations that you're part of. Like I don't know if Vital Records has,
They have a group.
I know they have meetings, but like do you discuss policy? You do? I don't know exactly. Is it just once a year or do you have like monthly
We have
meetings?
spring and fall conferences, but
Just-
otherwise it's just networked through newsletters.
They call each other when they can't figure out something.
Not that we don't do that.
We don't.
Well, see,
I do.
You've never told me about anything.
I email you
Well, that's
occasionally.
true.
and these requirements are something
Tracy
that,
emails me a lot.
you could bring up to the conference planners and say, as we're going through the standards and measures for accreditation,
If we could have
these are some of our requirements, and if we're going to be required of all health departments, if we could use this established group and this established meeting to help meet these requirements, then, I think that's something that would meet the needs of their audience. It would fill a spot in their planning. I've planned some of these meetings. It's great to fill those
Wasn't
spots.
that kind of the purpose of the multi-jurisdiction, that when we get together for accreditation, that we're actually talking about things? Makes sense to me. That
I'm
we're
just
come
saying, like,
together
we
and
would
develop
need to have
something.
like an agenda that this is what we're gonna talk about, and then take minutes of the meeting and maybe have sign-in sheets, just, cover all our bases.
It looks like you're gonna get done early anyway, so we might have time.
What?
Do we get minutes for this stuff?
Discuss the processes or whatever.
Or have these minutes?
I don't have extremely detailed minutes, no. I've done better with the CHIP meetings, keeping minutes.
You just say it to us each time.
Start the MJ5.
Historical record.
No minutes needed, just watch the video.
That's right, we just upload the video.
Watch that 6-hour long video and everything, yeah. Yeah, so if there are any other like organizational meetings that you guys go to, if it's something you could do, I think it would satisfy. Not that I want us to like have to do all these extra things, but if we're not already doing them.
I think it makes sense because we have a lot of, share a lot of same contractors that go between the counties
Especially
doing
in our-
projects. And they're like, well, I don't have to do it in this place. Well, in that place, they look at something else and they can always complain about Fort Wayne and then.
Yeah,
So.
well, that's a different entity all in itself. Anyway, 6.3.5, this is the last measure. So basically how we communicate with the public and other appropriate agencies regarding our enforcement activities, violations, follow-ups, trends, all that fun stuff that we've been doing this whole domain. So there are 3 required documents. 2 of them are protocols. So the first one is how we communicate with other agencies. It can be one comprehensive protocol or smaller things that address certain circumstances for how we notify. I know that we had started a communication procedure and it was more towards emergency situations than anything else. But if we can adapt that to include just generic, I don't know if this would, if you would call the media one of the other agencies, or if it's just like other enforcement agencies. If it's just agencies in general.
Can be website stuff. Imagine that's a protocol. Just saying.
Website stuff.
Like we could say for our protocol is to put all the inspection
Put
records
it on the website.
Yeah.
I think
They have
that,
to publish in paper or something like that.
was your question, does the media?
Do
I
we-
think they would.
It would be included.
Yes, because it says, sharing information with other agencies that have a role in educating or providing follow-up. So, I mean, the media has a role
That
in
would be-
educating the enforcement of that, so yes, I think that would. Seeing what I did there was I went into the standards and measures, and in the significance box, it says,
See, this is the last measure, so my brain was slowly.
oh, yeah, no,
drilling
and that's why, like, it's tough to sit down and look at these for 8 hours at a time. But it's important to know what is written in these standards and measures, because that's what we're trying to meet. So, you know, having a weekly meeting, and these are some things we can discuss towards the end of the day of how to get staff engaged and how to make this a priority in our health departments. But to just go back and, okay, so the question is the media, well, does that qualify as another agency? Well, then you go back up here and you read, okay, the purpose of this standard, this measure is written here. The significance of it, okay, so in the significance, I could see that, you know, it's important that the health department shares information, okay, with any other agencies that have a role in educating or providing follow-up, educating the public. So yes, the media plays a role,
Would
so
be
yes,
in
they
educating.
would be.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how, like, when I get questions, just keep going back up and try somewhere the information is there. And if it's not in your justification, tell me why you chose that document to meet that standard.
The second protocol is how we notify the public of enforcement activities.
So maybe the media would be more for the
For
public.
this one.
Yes.
I think that's what threw me off was that are they addressing the same thing, or are they?
Oh, gotcha.
To me, your interagency is gonna be, how are you
Other.
dealing with other agencies like your State Department of Health? How are you dealing with IDEM? How are you dealing with agencies?
But then the media would fall under that
Media is
second.
gonna be an outside entity.
Mhm.
They're not necessarily an agency per se.
That, I think that's
But
where
they
my confusion was coming in, like.
They could be part of your protocol for notifying the public about this.
Would they need to be part of our protocol for communicating with other agencies?
Well, sometimes they'll call me.
I think I feel more comfortable
I
putting them in the
honestly think
second,
that 1 and 2 could be the same protocol.
just maybe
It's-
different
And the
sections.
sense, yeah, so you talk about how you communicate with the different agencies, IDEM, the State Department of Health,
Mhm.
whatever else you could be. And then, you know, in the media, that's how you communicate with them and then expect them to communicate
Well,
with the
that's
public.
like commissioner meetings, so
Oh,
they'll
okay.
come in.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if what's now-
So how you notify the public if you post, we don't have social media with these groups, but, you know, if you post it to your website, if there's social media,
They're pretty good about it.
and you notify
You just have
the
to
media,
find the
Mhm.
person who does government
and then that's part of
affairs,
that. So it's all in one written protocol,
together.
you just
Best friend, but
highlight
I don't want
for
them.
required document 2, you highlight the section about that, for required document 1, you highlight the section about agencies.
Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah, so, and again, that's why you don't get stuck on, okay, there are so many, you know, one example, it can be the same document, you just take pieces from that. So if there's, you know, that's why you try to say, and you did say 31 pieces of evidence, it can be in 2 documents, just in different sections of that document. So, you know, when, at the beginning, when we look at it and there's, you know, 456 or something pieces of evidence that we have to provide, that doesn't mean we have to have that many different documents. They can come from the same document. Yeah. So we don't have to necessarily develop 2 separate protocols. It can be one protocol, just 2 different sections.
Yeah, so for us, like, we post our restaurant inspections in the newspaper. Well, the newspaper hounds me for the inspections, cause I always forget.
Do you have, do you just do the basic, how many violations are NC versus?
All they post is, they write out the critical violations, but then
Okay.
they number the non-critical
Okay, I didn't know if you had like a system like Allen County has, or they do the whole.
We don't have anything on our website yet, which I need to get on there. I just don't know. I've been trying to talk to our site developer, the best way to do it. Because I think just having a sheet that says this many critical, this many non-critical, is at least getting the information out there.
But a lot of people don't know what it means, like
Right.
non-critical versus critical, that's the only thing.
Right, and then how much space on your website can you take up to include all that information? Plus, you don't just want that most recent inspection, you want a couple, so,
And
like,
you don't wanna forget, cause like if you do a follow 2 days later and they're okay, you forget to put it in there, everybody's gonna be avoiding them, cause they have the
so,
bad
yeah,
stuff in there.
so, I think posting it in the
Crazy, you
paper.
changed. You did.
um,
She left, it came back a different person.
Posting it to the website, things like that. I mean, I don't know how much enforcement other people post to their website, if any. But,
Not enforcement, really. I mean, there's rules in there about what we do enforce, but not that. In
That
this certain
this
case,
is
we
the-
did this, no.
Do you post your food things to the website?
Our inspector has been resistant to that.
Mm.
For the purpose of, most violations are corrected at the time of inspection.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that they didn't happen.
I know.
It was a very good answer, Scott.
I mean, most of them are corrected
Yeah.
on site, but it still was happening. I don't know. I think it's easier to just post them than have people coming to you constantly saying, what's this one, what's this one? Because I had one person who, every week they were requesting 2 or 3 different ones.
Oh, wow.
And it got to be a lot, so I'm just like, just email me what you want, you know.
I do weights and
If we
measures,
go-
I'd love to be able to post that stuff in the paper, but nobody ever asks.
Well, our paper came to us and said, we want to post these in the paper.
They would want to. I'm pretty sure they would want to do
There was a time our board was against that. They didn't want posted. But this last time around, especially since the newspaper was requesting them,
The third required document is, oh wait, I didn't go through the second completely. So if there are any laws that require us to notify the public about something, we have to include those in this protocol. For enforcement stuff, I mean, I'm not familiar with any that require, the only thing is like leaky underground storage tanks, but that's not really enforcement, that's just notification. So I couldn't really think of any that require us to.
Sometimes when there's a permit through IDEM, they say a copy will be available at the health department.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't know.
I couldn't
The
think
law
of
says
any.
we have to notify the public of certain things. I think if there's
Right.
a infectious disease outbreak, yeah, that'd behoove us to do so.
But notifying the public of enforcement activities, I couldn't think of
I'm
anything.
not aware of
So that was just part of the,
Might make people shape
guideline.
up.
Hmm?
Fred Jones was indicted and $100,000
That's
for
what,
cleaning up his junk.
I've noticed that when we post because the restaurant inspections get posted, the owners are very much conscious of what's going on. They're like, I don't want that in the paper. And I said, then you shouldn't have done that. If you don't want it to be known by everyone, then you should probably fix your procedures. They're always like, you don't have to put that in there. I'm like, yeah, I do.
that would be
Wants.
consistency.
So you've been offered bribes then?
He's like, I'll give you free lunch if you don't post that. And I'm like, I don't want to eat at your restaurant. No thanks. Yeah. So I don't know, like, do many people do swimming pool inspections?
I do every month.
Do you post them anywhere? See, we don't either. So that was an example that was given in the
Keep
FAB
them
Post
document.
a close sign
Yeah, when we close them, we
At the
post it.
pool.
But-
We have a log and
every
everything,
month.
But I don't know, like, if you would notify the public when public pools are inspected, if you post it to the website, or just make it known that those inspections are available if someone's interested.
That's what we should put on there, is these inspections are all available for public purview during these hours, upon request.
Because we don't have anything like that on our website or anything. We just do the inspections and,
I know that there's
Put in a
people
file.
go around and asking for our condemned houses list, because they wanna purchase those houses and refab them. I've had that.
really. Okay, so required document 3 is documenting our enforcement notifications. We have to show that those protocols that we mentioned in required document 1 and required document 2 are actually being implemented. So if we are posting to a website, then an example of that, or minutes from public meetings where enforcement's discussed, press releases, public presentations, anything like that.
What are you gonna, we're finding that we don't have the room on our website like you do.
I mean, can you make a statement that they're available?
We could do that.
Could you work with the newspaper? Like what you
The
want to do
newspaper
food
came to
stuff?
us and wanted all of our reports, and then they just
Like
stopped
for
coming.
everything?
No, just for the restaurants inspections. But that's all they wanted, and then they just stopped coming, so.
They weren't finding the juicy stuff.
I think that's what it was, because we told them they had to write it down exactly the way we put it, because if they
Well,
change
yeah,
one
they
word,
should be.
Right.
then they could, make it sound even worse. And, so they didn't, I don't think they liked that.
See, ours has kind of tapered off too. Like it was, they wanted me to send them every 2 weeks. And now I only send them like once a month. Because I forget. If I don't write it on my calendar, I forget to do it. And he maybe emails me once every few months, like, do you have any inspection reports? Oh yeah, of course I do, I just haven't sent them to you. So if we had something in place that were like, on this day, I send them to these people,
Yeah,
that could be a way to get them out there and not put them on your website, if you can't.
I don't think we're gonna be able to list them on our website, but we could put something that they're available on our
Or could you
website.
do like because I know Allen County used to do it this way, now that they have their fancy website, it's different, but they would do like a summary, like a quarterly summary, and they would list each establishment, the date that it was inspected, just the number of violations, like this many critical, this many non-critical. And it was just one document that they would upload to their website that you could click on and just, like a table.
Go through that.
If you have space to do that, I mean, it's how frequently you want to update that.
I don't have access to update anything, I have to give it to Tara, and,
Oh,
yeah.
she updates the website?
has to
I guess that's a
update
good question to ask, who all
Yeah, I don't have access to do
because
that.
I have access to our website, you do? Some
Yeah.
people have to go through their IT people, which
And that's what we had to do, and then.
but that's not the case anymore.
I think it's easier to almost have one person, I mean, that way, you don't have a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of stuff that's not being approved.
Right,
I
right.
mean, there's good and bad to that.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, we just, like, I'm the only person with access to
Yeah,
our
and
website,
there's
so
no
everyone
question.
just hands stuff to me and I
Yeah.
put it on there, yeah.
And that's kind of what Tara is in our office.
I think it's helpful that way.
But did you say that it used to be you would have to send it to your IT
Yes.
department and then they would post it on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we still have to do something on some
There's
particular
certain things that we
things
still
we
have to
still
do
can't,
that.
yeah.
I guess it's just a matter of figuring out what works best for your account.
So, but as long as we have something that says you can contact us, I never have anybody contact me. I have probably once in the 2 years, somebody's asked me, a restaurant inspection reports,
Oh, for reports, yeah.
Yeah. yeah.
I mean, that's sharing of information to the public.
If we just have something on that says,
You have the emails. Do you get emails? Is that what?
no, this was just a random
Oh, they
come in
like
and I
came
want to
in.
know, yeah.
I don't know if we do like not a sign-in sheet, but like this person, make them sign something that says, this is what I
If they wanna
requested.
get a copy of a complaint, then they sign for it and date it. That way,
So we should have that at the front desk, like, where
like if someone's
anybody comes in?
a complaint that was filed against them, then they have to sign and date it, and I have to put a copy of it. That way that I know that they received a copy, they requested it. That way I'm not just not handing it out to whoever, especially if it's, against their or them or their property, so.
Because we don't get very much of that.
We usually don't get very many copies, people wanting copies of it. Usually just call.
Gotcha.
Who complains?
That's why I say that you can come in and get a copy of
They
that
don't,
and sign
a
for
lot
it.
of them won't come in
We get
for that.
People come in for PAs, copies of that, and we get
We
people
have
Yeah,
that just
tattoo
want.
permits.
Yeah,
So they
it's
don't
not-
have to sign.
that gets you.
But like that's
to
not
the establishment,
enforced
not.
and stuff.
Stuff.
I guess I was thinking more along the lines of like enforcement, like our, the complaints and the food inspection, just not like paternity stuff.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah, that's just.
I mean,
Like
we don't
signing
feel like
in
Jim is
for if
attorney
they're
advice
requesting
either.
food establishment inspections, or
Yeah.
signing
I
in
guess I
if
do
they
just
want
with the
a
facility,
copy
but I
of
don't
septic
think it's
inspection.
regional artist.
So do you have written inspection, I mean, do you have a
Yeah,
form?
which part is
I know
that?
Heath has a form, but I don't know if everyone uses
People
it.
want a copy of the septic.
I'm not saying people do, I'm just saying,
That'd be really odd, that'd be
if-
really weird, that'd be like-
if someone were to request, I'm trying to throw.
Yeah,
Not so much like paternity stuff.
I guess we don't have it, so we've never thought about it. We just really don't
I
have
think
people.
we're an oddball in a lot of areas, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's good that we're all talking though, so that we can take care of it. Okay. So, that's it. Easy, right? Yay, so easy. Yeah, so with our, I mean, I'm not really sure how our workshop meetings are gonna go. If we want to try and gather as much documentation as we can, submit it along the way, or wait until the workshop meeting to kind of, I don't know how everyone wants to do things.
Might be a good idea to bring what you have to a workshop and kind of review it around the table.
Go through it
To get
together.
ideas from other, from
So
another
of
perspective
everything.
whether you think it meets the standard or is lacking something or needs some revision.
Not anything in particular, just all that you have, just bring it and
Right.
go through what needs going through.
So then for those of you who have documents for 6.1.1 required document 2, you can show others, okay, well, this is what we came up with and this is why I think it meets the requirements. Oh, okay, well, I think I can get something like that. And then you can make notes and go back and find it and have those types of discussions.
So just bring everything that you have to that meeting. And we'll do them that way.
When is this meeting in January?
We have not scheduled it yet.
31st.
Were we thinking there would be an all-day workshop?
It'll be just like today, where we do the workshop in the morning about domain 6 and then a workshop in the afternoon about domain 9.
Okay.
Afternoon's gonna be long. I mean, that's tough,
That's all I have.
But you've got it all
No.
documented, right? You've got it all documented.
I know